Today's date, welcome to the Tennessee Assembly Town Hall. It's a 50-state national call. U.S. citizens and ASNs and ASCs are always welcome. Today's date is July the 31st, the last day of the month, 2026. The time is 7:06 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I'm going to ask David, could you do the Bevins for us before we start?
All right, Debbie. This meeting is public. Bearing false witness misrepresentation and posting inflammatory language in public forum, including the chat, is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency at the federal, state, city, or county present? Do you now or have you ever received money or personal support of any kind from the intelligence community? Is there a response to this Bivens declaration for the first time? Second time? Third time? Anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises. If they subsequently show up as federal witnesses, they are discredited for failure to disclose. Upon no response to this business declaration, this meeting shall now proceed, but I have a little more to say. This is a Tennessee Town Hall, Tennessee decorum, and I would like you all to respect each other and not walk on each other, and that also goes for the hosts. Let people finish their questions, and then they may be answered. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, David, for that. I appreciate it. And when you're asking your questions, please be mindful. Will ask you to put on your camera just to be able to ask those questions. Keep things timefully, like considerate, and keep the movement going forward. So the hosts tonight are Paul Papa, Sean Sorensen, and Lisa is always here to answer questions. We ask that whatever your questions are, give them a moment to roll around that, because sometimes this meeting goes from question to question to question. So just be mindful of that. Thank you very much. Paul Pappas, Sean Sorensen, Lisa, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Anybody got questions they want to start off with? The talk's already been going for half hour, 40 minutes, but if you guys got questions, we can keep going and go from there.
I would like to let Lisa know that we've added a section to the coroner's handbook and documents, which is on pregnancy and children, and at what point is a fetus alive and what is not, and what can be considered. So I'm going to work on getting that sent to you because I did some great research. I yield.
You're muted, Lisa.
So that's great, Cynthia. Thank you. We'll share back and forth.
Hey guys, yesterday we were doing a vetting and a conversation came up that seemed to take a lot of questions and answers. And it's kind of what Marshal at Arms or Sergeant at Arms does and what problems happen or, stuff like that. If there are problems, you may know that you wonder how the Marshal at Arms are being trained to deal with stuff. We can help with that too. And then earlier in the discussion, they were talking about, when problems are occurring or people want to talk or say certain things, we all have a jurisdictional box. Each one of us takes a job. We trust that they do that job, and the one responsible for keeping and enforcing that decorum is the Marshal at Arms or Sergeant at Arms. And it's decorum that's voted on by the people. So it's really not hard to follow those rules because all the people agreed that, hey, this is how we're going to handle ourselves. And a Marshal at Arms just enforces it. But trying to do the training, it's hard because we have to try to teach them to do it peacefully, because everybody wants to be heard. So it's a fine line. But if there are certain situations we might be able to help with, go for it. But go ahead, Tess.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having the town hall, holding the space. I have my question is not about what you were just talking about, Paul. Is it a good time to ask a different question or
Yeah, that's fine.
want to stay on topic? I don't want to get off topic here. Thank you. My question was about, I, I, I listened to part of the coordinator training call last night, and when I'm confused, I'm confused about when Michelle was talking about lawful money, and like I started getting all paranoid. I'm like, well, because I use fiat, am I not using lawful money? Am I in trouble? Am I going to be, you know what I mean? So anyway, that's what I got. I use what I got, right? So anyway, I was, I had not heard that term recently, so I was confused about that. I yield. Thank you.
Yeah, lawful money is real money, gold and silver. Um, it doesn't mean that you're going to get yourself in trouble using fiat currency or whatever. And to tell you the truth, when we first started, a lot of people were worried, if I do this, is it going to put me back? And your paperwork is done. We know who you are, and you have to try to live, with the means you have and what's going on at the time. And we're dealing with pirates. It's not easy being free in a land of slaves, so it's nothing you do is going to put you back in their system unless you start voting and doing stuff like that where you're actually joining their system, but using money is not a problem. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, so I know a little bit about this. So fiat money is, I'm not sure which USC law, it can be lawful money. You just have to declare that it is. Lawful money cannot be securitized. So if you make a statement to your bank and they allow you to do it, that you only deal with lawful money, they're not allowed to securitize your funds, which is what they do to all of us. And I mean, there's more details than that, but from my understanding, that's what I understood of it. And it's something that you can declare with a statement to your bank that you are accepting, like your deposit, say you're depositing a check into your bank and then you're saying deposit it in lawful money. You have to
Redeem
re-
for lawful
redeem.
money,
Yeah.
USC 411.
Yeah. So that differentiates it from, uh, you know, fiat money. But by law, they're supposed to honor that.
And but they don't honor any laws. So, I mean,
Yeah.
even if you
So
write it on your check and tell them to redeem it for lawful money, they don't.
Yeah, the
that's what
problem.
Michelle was talking about when her bookkeeper told her to give her bank that notice that her funds were
So,
lawful money.
yeah, so may I clarify that just a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That was just a little bit.
So, so for example, right now I've got I have I have a fiat account, Huntington Bank, and then I've got a state um credit union account. On my state credit union account, I took my accounts and I nicknamed them. And so every time they pull up one of my accounts, it says redeem in lawful money. Um, and it'll say checking or redeem in lawful money savings. And it's tied to my name. And if the Fed ever walked in, doesn't mean it won't necessarily stop them, but it might. Okay. And at least I've got evidence that I've tried to make sure that I've designated my accounts as lawful money accounts. So if they walk into a bank and they choose all these accounts and they look at that and they go, I don't think we want to touch that one. We're going to leave that one. There you go. Okay.
That doesn't happen for me. They took my money, cashed out, and kicked me right out of the bank.
Well, it depends on who you're dealing with. So credit unions are a lot state operated credit unions are a lot different than state banks or state or national banks, either one. So the credit union that I deal with on my county is a pretty people friendly organization. So so that there is a difference between dealing with a national bank, an FDIC insured bank. Now, this particular credit union that I deal with deals with private insurance. They are privately insured, and yes, you can do that. So if you look for the private insurance, the credit unions that are not NCUI insured, because NCUI is a branch of FDIC, and it's federal insurance. So if you go towards something that's privately insured, you're much better off. Okay.
Don't disagree, but before 1933, silver and coinage, actual metal, was real money. It's still on the books today as being lawful money, lawful currency. And then in 33, they replaced it with a paper dollar, which this paper dollar was originally redeemable for this. But when they confiscated all the gold and silver, right, you were no longer able to trade this for this. So they confiscated all of the real money and traded it for paper and made these notes. And these notes are promissory notes, right? It's a promise to pay on the good faith of your labor. And so, it's basically it's a game, but they've monetized this paper, right? And made it into derivatives along with all your property, all your cars, your labor, right? And they're basically placing bets against it, and that was the whole shell game that they were playing, and fortunately we have all stood up and stopped that from actually happening, where they couldn't just make a world bank full of derivatives. There's actually a really good documentary out there somewhere. I can't remember the name of it, but me and Debbie Jo spent like 3.5 hours watching it a couple years ago. And if we can find it, it's a really good watch. I'll yield.
Anybody else? Any questions? Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, I am the elected coroner of Tennessee. I live in Hamilton County. What am I allowed to do in Hamilton County? I'm not sure exactly what I can do, but I need to know what I can do, because I have a lot of plans I want to do. So I need some insight on, can I organize things? Can I get into things? So I need some answers, because I'm in the process of setting up a list of all the people that I know. And I actually talked to a guy today. He came, stopped at my house, and we had about an hour talk. And so I need to know what I can do as a coroner of Tennessee.
Okay, so as a coroner of Tennessee, a coroner has a job within the assembly. I don't know all the stuff a coroner does exactly, but as Tim, you're allowed to do whatever you want without permission from any of us. But as coroner, then you're representing the assembly. And then whatever you're doing, the assembly should know what you're doing. Because that, you're a state coroner, so you're representing the state. And anytime you're going to go out and do something messing around by the pirate ship or whatever, then the rest of the assembly should know what's going on. But other than that,
Okay.
if you go in and just tell them, hey, I'm Tim, you go and tell them whatever you want. You don't have to use the word coroner.
Okay, because I plan on messing around some.
Yeah. The titles we have are for us, and it's what we learn, and it's the job we do. For them, I don't ever tell them I'm Continental Marshal. I tell them my name and argue that way. And then someday they'll find out who I am.
Okay, I think that makes it clear that I can get out and mess around, and I'm working on getting the Hamilton County people that I know together. I've already had someone want to come by my house and have a meeting, so I want to get busy and get something going. Okay, I
Yeah.
yield. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You do what you want, Tim. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, Tim, is this in alignment with what we talked about the other day when you wanted to get your county assembly together and you were wondering if you could serve in any aspect in the county and be in the state coordinator at the same time?
State
Yeah,
coroner.
I understood that I couldn't do it as a coroner, right?
Yeah, you
Correct,
can't
because
you can't have
you're
a conflict of interest.
you're a state officer, so you can't do the county. Can't be a county officer. I yield.
Okay,
I would like to bring
so
up
I'm
a topic.
just Tim.
Go ahead, Tim.
Froze up.
So I'd like to bring up a topic. Maybe Lisa can chime in here. This topic has to do with all of the enforcement that goes across each state and across our republic, right? From our sheriffs, our militia, state troopers, continental marshals. How does all this enforcement come together, right? And how does it intertwine with the courts?
Well, so there is again, you have to have your state standing, because our states are the ones that have the state authority. It's not the counties, it's the state has the authority. The state has the authority to divide a county. Say, okay, we're going to make a new county here by a vote of the people. The people do have to vote, but the state is the one that would basically put their authority behind that. It's the same thing that the state puts their authority behind elected officials. And so you got to get your state court up first and your state standing so that you can exercise your state authority. And then you go towards the formal setting up of your counties. And that means that in the meantime, the people on the counties should be meeting. They're not forming formal government at that point, but they are getting to know each other. They're starting to talk about the issues and get to know their county. They're getting to know, of course, each other. They're starting to begin to form maybe their decorum for their county, putting that into place. And then they're going to go into, the more or less the same process the state did in getting their elected positions together.
May I?
Their roles together. And then and in that electing their sheriff. That sheriff is then tasked with getting his deputies. Without the state authority, without a standing county government, they have very little, if any, enforcement. It really is in the organization and the implementation of a visible government where they get the true enforcement comes from. Okay, so the counties have essentially their courts are superior, and the state courts are only going to eventually handle state-to-state issues, disputes between counties, international, and any disputes that would come up in that way. That's going to be fairly small, to be honest. And then we have our postal area courts to handle the next level of international, which is state to state or state to the de facto federal and municipal governments. So that's kind of the hierarchy of where things go up the line.
So
And
Lisa, do the county governments basically mimic the state government in a sense? And where does the militia fit in to that whole scope? I mean, is there a SWAT team on each county that the sheriff can call in whenever he wants? How does that work? Tell everybody how that works.
So the militias, according to our founding fathers, were given to the state. The state has the authority on militias, not counties. Counties only have a unit or a division of the state militia, and that unit falls under the governance of and the decisions of the state militia. Okay? And then it branches out from there. So you might have several units on a county, and those several units end up making those counties then end up making maybe a region of some sort, and those regions then all form to form your state militia. Those militia members, it doesn't mean that they can't act on their assembly. If there was a major disaster, life is always the first consideration. So they would go out and they would take care of life while they're communicating with their state militia director or commander, or their regional manager, or whatever however that works, their county. They would respond, and then they would go ahead and get the approvals, get the ball rolling from the state level down.
So if there was, let's say, on Putnam County here in Tennessee, if there was an emergency that overwhelmed the sheriff's department, right, and he needed to call in some extra hands from the militia, how does that command structure look? Who does he contact?
That's different. That's a little different, because he can form a posse, but he can't direct a unit. And a posse is generally 8 or 9 people. That's it. Okay, it's very select.
Of the county.
Of the county, out of the whole county. Okay, so he's not calling up units. He's not calling out the militia. He might interface with that, but it's really up to the state militia to grant that wish. But if he wants to call a posse of nationals on his county, remember, we're all militia, right? And if he wants to pull that posse together, you can accept or not accept. You're free to do that. Okay? So I'll give you an example. In the 1960s here, and everybody knows I live on an island in the summer. In the 1960s, when there was a lot of rioting, there was a lot of just, it was tough times here. and I don't want to characterize it too badly, but we had groups of middle age and groups of young hippies that would battle. Okay, they would battle, and they would battle to get on the boats. They would battle to coming into the docks. We had riots here on the island, and we didn't have enough police force. We generally had 3, maybe 4 policemen. And if it happened when it wasn't high season, they didn't have enough what we called rent-a-cops on the island. Okay. And so the sheriff turned to, and the police chief turned to the islanders, the island men. And they went around door to door and asked if anybody would like to be provide security as part of the militia on the island. And they went and they defended the docks, and they held they tried and they kind of kept the peace in the parks and in the docks and on the major ferry docks as well, the commercial docks. And that's an example of what happened, because they couldn't get us anybody here fast enough. All right. That happened again during COVID. There was a flotilla that came out of Detroit, and they were coming over to raid our grocery store because their grocery stores didn't have toilet paper, paper towels, some canned goods and foods and water. They were going to strip this island and the grocery stores here on the island of those supplies. And once again, the men were called out, and they were brushed off of the docks. They were met with armed resistance here on the island. So that's just one of the ways that happens, in terms of, but the sheriff cannot call out the militia. He can only call out a posse of people, and that's it.
So what is the state militia's main objective? Why does a state need a militia at all? Why do they need a well-regulated militia in every state?
Well, each state is its own nation. It's responsible for its own security, and it's responsible within its borders to take care of its people and the people's assets. And so the militia, pardon?
And to protect its borders? Absolutely.
And so the militia has very narrowly defined purposes. It is not offensive issues. It is defensive. They're only meant to be on defense. We had that, and this is something I tease Michigan about, and I don't know if we have anybody from Michigan, but I tease them regularly about the fact that the last time Ohio was invaded was 1835. And the Michiganians came over the border to try to take Toledo, one of our major ports here on Ohio. Now, they had plenty of other ports. They had Monroe, that's just, right up the road, and probably about 10 miles the most. They had Detroit. They had all the little ports in between, but no, they wanted Toledo too, which would have left Ohio with only 2 really major city ports along the lakefront. And the Ohio militia was called out, and they pushed the Michiganians back over the border, and then the Congress decided that the border was drawn incorrectly. And at that point, the only one that really lost in the deal was Wisconsin, because they lost the Upper Peninsula. The Upper Peninsula was given to Michigan, and Toledo was given to Ohio in the drawing of the lines. So that's another real world example of what's gone on.
So Lisa, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because last night on the coordinator's call, right, there was discussion about enforcement and how our structure works, right, when it comes to making our roll call votes and actually having this enforcement. So, you know, and then on our militia meeting last night, you know, there was the same kind of topic about enforcement and where the militia comes in, you know, SWAT teams and, you know, state troopers and, you know, and I understand that the state can, you know, vote to use the militia in different venues, but their main purpose is, right? And so our whole enforcement structure from sheriffs, militia, you know, the court on the counties, the state court, and the postal area court and the continental marshals in order to enforce the public laws is basically where I'm trying to direct our conversation. So,
Okay. Well, I mean, the obvious answer, as Anna said last night, is get your state up. Not just a General Assembly, not just thinking about a militia. You've got to have all of your committees of your General Assembly operating. You've got to have your public officials elected. You've got to be seen and look like and be recognizable as a state government. And once you have that, then it's time to work on your counties, because your counties have to be seen as a state government. You have to have 3/4 of your counties for them to even really begin to see you as a really fully functioning state entity. Okay, 3/4. In their world, there are two significant numbers: 2/3 and 3/4. Okay. And 2/3 starts to get to be a very serious number for them. Ohio has crossed that 2/3 of our county number, heading towards that 3/4 number of our 3/4 of our counties. Once you get 3/4 number, you can outvote their House and their House and their Senate. People can outvote them. Okay. So they're starting to get a little bit nervous because we're coming and we're adding. I get paperwork done this week or in the next week or two of the people who've come in. I'm going to add 3 more counties. That's a pretty good thing. Okay. And so this becomes something that as we look at enforcement, we have to know what those numbers are. We have to be aware of what is significant in their world as well as in ours. And my comment is, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Ask your people, what are you waiting for? Because there is no one else here to do the job. You have to step up. You have to be the ones that work together, whether you like each other or not, and stand your state up.
so really what Anna was talking about when she said enforcement, she was really talking about having the assemblies up to enforce the public law, right? Not necessarily the peacekeepers to enforce the public law for you.
Correct.
You hit it
No.
right on the nose.
No, not at all. The people are in charge. The militia isn't in charge. The General Assembly isn't in charge. It's the people that are in charge.
You guys keep talking about enforcement too, and we're not law enforcement officers. You know, the getting everything seated and all that, and the people are the ones that can enforce. And when we do our paperwork, that's the first thing we do is enforce the public law. Every one of us has to enforce the public law. And we're not law enforcement officers. We're peacekeeping officials. You guys are the ones that do the enforcement. Go ahead, Diana.
Marcus has had his hand up for about 15 minutes waiting before anybody else's hand went up. Just to
I
stay in
don't-
order.
I don't even
Right.
see his hand up. I see Diana only.
This is his
Diana,
hand up. He doesn't have the hand on the thing, and I've been watching him, and I said in chat, I see your hand up, and I'll make sure you'll be next. I
Oh,
yield.
okay. Go ahead, Marcus.
Okay, I met Tim on Tennessee on Hamilton County, same as me last night. And by me and him meeting, do we need to have meetings in our county by us getting people together and start the militia for our county, or start, I just been paying attention to what's going on, and I'm trying to figure out what we need to do. So I just met another person on Hamilton County, and we was talking about all us linking up and have a meeting where we can be face to face, or we can have a Zoom or something like that together. But I'm trying to figure out what really we need to be doing in Hamilton County to support what we got going on.
So
Status.
your county will populate itself, but militia wise, when you do your paperwork, you're already part of the militia. Everyone that does their paperwork is in the militia. You don't have to fire up a militia. The militia will populate itself, and the state will govern it. You just want to do outreach, whether it's for state or county, and get people in and get their paperwork up. Once their paperwork's done, they're already in the militia.
Yeah, there's
Right.
only a well-regulated militia within the state, not on the counties.
And status correction is your main goal. Status corrections means you have properly declared people who can populate that militia and populate either state government or county government. Okay? That's your goal.
And it's all into the state.
Pardon?
It's all into the state. We ain't got to worry about it. We just do the outreach.
Correct.
You will have to do outreach on your county if you want more people in your county. I mean, we do
Correct.
outreach everywhere we go, whether it's for the state or for the county. Everyone we talk to, we try to bring them in, and they just populate their county. We don't even ask them necessarily what county they're from. We just try to bring them in, and then the counties automatically populate. So
But
you want to talk to people near your home, and your county will automatically populate.
But for clarity, the state has to be fully functioning before any county. All of your positions have to be seated. Your court has to be running on the state level first. It has to be fully functioning on the state. And then once your state and your counties get more people in them, then your county governments will get seated. You'll hold county seated government positions, and then they'll get filled, right? But the state has to be fully functioning first.
Okay, so the goal is the outreach. This by me meeting Tim last night, because we're going to get together and do some things for our county. So the goal is to outreach our county and make sure they join and make sure they understand what's going on, and it takes its place from there, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, they'll come into the General Assembly meetings and they'll learn, and people will teach them. They'll come to town hall and they'll learn, and pretty soon they'll step up and grab a spot in the county, or they're going to grab a spot that's needed in the state. Whatever it is, if they grab a spot in the state, which we need first, then they can't grab a spot in the county. And then you have to wait for more people to come in, and then you populate the county.
Okay.
But if what we're trying to get to is Milligan ex parte. Milligan ex parte stops the tribunal courts from functioning in that area. So when you do it on a state level, you're covering the whole state, not just a county. If you only did it in Hamilton County for Milligan ex parte, it would only be Hamilton County that would be covered. When we do it on the state first, then the whole state is covered, and we give time for the counties to populate, not trying to race and get the counties done. The state comes first.
And that includes Knoxville, Nashville. That's the whole state of Tennessee.
Everywhere, yeah. Let the counties will populate the really populated areas, Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville. those places will populate faster because they have more people. But it's not a rush. Hopefully the people that are coming in join the state government first to get everything functioning in the state. And then let other people come in and grab the county.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
I yield. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcus. Go ahead, Diana.
Thank you, friends. Okay. We have a rather large scenario on our state and really need some assistance. I have an ombudsman who needs assistance in his role. We have a pro tem marshal at arms who needs assistance in his role. We have, I'm not really certain that it's necessary to get into the rest here, but it's all going before the ombudsman, and the whole large scenario itself. And if it does, well, not if, when it does, he's going to need assistance because I don't know
Okay.
how to explain all the
So
details.
a pro tem marshal at arms, I'm not sure I get that because marshal at arms works for Anna. And
Right.
we train them and we vet them, and then they work on your state for Anna.
Right. I say that because he was put in position by the people that are already there, but he has, at the same time I was, and he has not chosen to get any background check, vetting, or training. And
Then he is not the marshal at arms, period.
exactly, I said that. But this scenario is, I don't know how to explain it all without, but
I can try my best. This whole thing that we're doing is Anna's baby,
yes.
period. It's Anna's baby, and the coordinators all work for Anna. The marshal at arms get trained and vetted by the Continental Marshals, and they work for Anna. And if they haven't gone through the training and haven't been vetted, they are not a marshal at arms.
Right.
They are trained to do what Anna wants for her baby. We all basically work for Anna. You know,
Yes.
everybody knows there's bottom down and government and all that, Well, I'm sorry, but Anna can shut down any one of your assemblies anytime she wants and restart it. If you don't know that that's not a top down right from the get-go, you're wrong.
Exactly.
Anna can shut it all down because people aren't functioning the way she wants it, or they can go off and try to start their own thing. But this is Anna's baby. The coordinators are taught how to get a government seated, and a marshal at arms is taught to protect that coordinator and watch the coordinator at the same time to make sure that they're not overstepping their bounds. But that job is put in place by the Federation to keep the peace on your state. And if they haven't gone through the training or the vetting, they are not a marshal at arms. A marshal at arms works for Anna. A sergeant at arms works for the state.
Right. You say vetting here, and the group does not, they run the other direction. In addition to anything that is referenced as far as any kind of move towards seatment, they don't go to any trainings. They don't do anything in any forward motion. It's always in opposition and in their own group. It doesn't matter what subject is brought up. Anna was on our General Assembly the other night. All right, I called her to come help. They literally took me in some scenario before she even got there. I won't get into all that right at the moment. They're trying to, yeah, set me up in a few different ways. And I have proof of it, you know, as far as screenshots and whatnot they've done to my Zoom account and Ionis and all these different things. And it's just getting too much on my own. Not that I'm on my own. There are those who are assisting. Justin, I think, is here tonight or was.
Yeah.
And he has the clue. Now, this is the ongoing pattern for this state. He had to go through it first. He went through it the first, well, not the first round, but there's been, I don't know how many coordinators that have gone through this and tried to break through this. Okay. And it's the same pattern, the same issues, the same closed, insulated loop.
Then they're not doing Anna's baby. Anna's
they're not.
assembly.
No, they are not.
Then tell them to go down to the Jural Society and get their war flag and go do that. They're not doing what we're doing. That's it. I mean, you have to stand your ground to it at some point, but at the same time, let Anna know what's going on. There's no such thing as pro tem martial at arms.
I'm being polite.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, hopefully they get the recording. There is no such thing as pro tem martial at arms. If you want to be a marshal at arms, you have to get vetted by the Continental Marshals and you have to go through the training. And then we tell Anna, we tell Anna who went through the training, who went through the vetting, and who the marshal at arms is on that state. We tell her. We write it down on a list for her. And your pro tem marshal at arms, his name will not be on that list. He does not work for the Federation. He does not work for Anna. He's doing something else. And he's more than welcome to go somewhere else. They have to do what Anna wants. Even the assemblies that are seated still have a coordinator. They haven't been released. They're not fully functioning themselves for the Federation to say, okay, you got it. Now you can go sink or swim. It's up to you guys. You guys have got it. And until the Federation says that, everybody is under Anna von Reis. And if they don't like it, go somewhere else.
Yeah, they have their own group and they have their own meetings and they don't list any committees except for the couple that we have now managed to pull forward for anyone else to join. Militia is completely closed loop. No link, no recordings, no nothing, no invitations, nothing.
May I?
Please.
Go ahead.
I'm coordinator on Indiana,
Yes,
and
miss.
whenever they start doing that stuff, you need to put it back in the assembly's hands, and you need to ask the assembly to re-vote somebody that is a good fit for that position. Get that person vetted. Shove them people out. You have to shove that out of your assembly.
Right. I understand that. And there's a couple that understand it, but the problem is they are the only ones working on the assembly besides myself, besides Chris Kelty, besides there's a few on the outside fringe of it, like Joshua and
Don't name
Item.
don't name names.
Sorry. There's a
But
few
the
that are
only
on the
re-
fringe.
The
But
only
they-
reason why they're doing this is that because as a coordinator, you're letting them. You need to let your assembly know that, hey, this isn't right. This isn't regular general assembly.
They've been told. They have been told. They have been told and told and told.
You have to re-vote it.
Here's what's going on. There are multiple states that are running double assemblies. Multiple states running double assemblies. That double assembly is not even what Anna's doing. There are people calling themselves the Union States or the true, that they're the true assembly, or they're full of it. They're not under what Anna's doing. You are a coordinator for Anna, and we are setting up a government the way Anna has said it should be set up. And that's it. If they're doing something else, they're more than welcome to go do their meetings somewhere else. And all you do is have the people that are working on the team with you, with Anna, to vote them out. and send them somewhere else. I mean, you guys have the Zoom.
Start muting them. Start muting them until it stops. You have the access.
Look, it involves a number of people that are the working part of the assembly.
You're right. But also the Zoom is your Zoom.
There's-
Is the Zoom your Zoom?
What do you mean mine?
Are you the host of the Zoom meeting?
No, there's a chairman.
Okay. Is the chairman part of that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're a coordinator. Go start your own Zoom. Start inviting them to your Zoom. I mean, that's what I would do if this was going on our assembly.
Right.
Start your own Zoom, do your own thing. Let those people go do what they're gonna do. You're doing
So-
the right way. They're not.
So
That
may
makes
I?
sense. Please.
I would not subscribe to that. And here's why.
Okay.
If you already have a pro tem chairman, then is it a general assembly chairman, or is it a committee chairman?
No, General Assembly Chairman. She was there when I got there.
If you already have a pro tem general assembly chair, then you should be working with that general assembly chair.
She won't
And-
return my phone calls, not once. Will not.
Does she live close by?
No, I'm on the west. Everybody else is on the other side. None of them return my phone calls. None of them and I say none of them, well, obviously some do, so I can't say it like that. I'm talking about that specific group.
Well, once they elect a chairman, your job is to stand back and let them get something done and be the resource. And so, you as a coordinator can volunteer to start a committee, start a process and procedures committee, start a committee that's missing.
Well, we did that, we have the education committee. Antonio came on, someone came on as a new person and has been there a month, and he showed interest in education, and so I immediately joined with him on that for the committee. And he is also going to do the background and the vetting and the training for coordinator, so we can work together.
Okay. Start a committee. I would tell you that if you say, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the process and procedures committee. You can't be chairman of it, Diana, but you can be a committee member, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to start the process and procedures committee, and everybody is going to sit back and go, oh, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. Diana can't, we're not going to let Diana do that all by herself. We're going to have to get on that committee. Okay.
I'll give it a go, but they haven't joined any committee yet, except for the outreach one is the one that they're involved with. Just this week, they managed to agree to having a new member committee, which is also part of the outreach committee. They keep the group together.
Actually, new member committee is part of orientation. It's not outreach. So everything's not about, it is about outreach, but it isn't, every committee isn't outreach. So start a process and procedures together. Start getting your assembly basically kind of guidelines and handbooks together, and you start introducing those things that your committee is doing. Chances are they're going to start stepping up, because they're not going to let you dictate by yourself what's going on. And process and procedures is one of those committees that is going to be suggesting the process and the procedures for them to vote on.
Right. Well, so the other night, we were supposed to have a general assembly, and it didn't turn into a general assembly. It was also, that was the night that Anna came. to join us. And they are seeking to remove me. That was their goal. So they can have the place back to themselves. This has been going on for some time. This is not just with me. It was with other coordinators, at least 3 before me that have been through the same thing and spun to the outside. I don't spin real easy, so I'm still here.
They're trying to remove you from something you don't belong to.
I understand.
They have their whole own thing.
Yes,
That is not what Anna wants.
they have their own agenda. They won't use or have anything to do with making reports from any committee that they already have going. Reports just don't exist.
Yeah. I don't get it because it's you don't belong there. That's my thing. You don't belong there. You belong setting up the Kentucky Assembly for Anna Von Reitz with a
Exactly.
marshal at arms that works for Anna Von Reitz and setting up that assembly with your own Zoom, like Missy said, and the whole deal. This is a second assembly running behind the background that's not following what Anna wants. And they're more than welcome to go somewhere else. But they talk to you because you show up there.
Right.
But it's their whole other thing. These people are trying on multiple states to set up a whole different assembly, and you just don't belong there. Do what you were taught to do and move forward. They'll have to come back at some point.
May I?
Go ahead, Missy.
Are you close to Lawrenceburg, Indiana?
I'm in Owensboro, Kentucky. I'm not certain where that is.
You're in Owensboro. I'm going to put my phone number in the chat and I can help you get your own Zoom going. And because you don't have control of that Zoom is why they have control of the meeting. Once you control your Zoom, you will be just fine.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to put my phone number in the chat and I'm here for you. I'm your
Okay.
neighboring state.
Yep.
I yield.
Go ahead, Richard.
Hey, I just want to touch back on the county assemblies. I was told, I don't know how true this is, that if you have 2 people on the county, then it's recognized by the state assembly. But I wanted to go back to what Lisa was also talking about. This is my second part of the question, is when you talk about the 2/3 and talking about that we have the majority of the vote at that point, what vote are we talking about here? Because say the assemblies want to do away with flock cameras or chemtrails or something like that. There's no election to do away with that. There's no voting in that, and we don't really even participate in their voting at the de facto. So I was just wanting to know more information on how that would work once we get 2/3.
So, all right. So you have to have at least 2 people on every county, preferably 3, for that county to be counted as standing, as actually standing. Okay, populated. Being
Populated.
populated.
But
Okay.
that's not seated, right?
No, populated.
No, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Living
And-
Americans that are on that county.
Correct. So then what you need to do is what you're talking about is then being able to say that there is 3/4 of your state that is that are Americans, and any votes you have, if those counties all count, if they all vote a majority, okay, the order goes into the state, to the state legislatures, that 3/4 of the counties, the people of the counties have voted that you can no longer have flock cameras. Okay, 3/4 of the people of 3/4 of the counties of your people. 3/4 of the counties of the people is what allowed the states of to be formed. That's the threat. that is where some of this comes involved. Okay?
Okay.
That's all it takes.
Something to look forward to.
Notice too, you guys, when she's talking about three-quarter states, she's talking about 2-3 people on each county. It's just populated. You don't have to worry about all these people setting up counties when you could just be populated. And the state recognizes that your county is populated by living people, not a seated government on the county, but populated. There are Americans living there, and they speak for that whole county. Whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, they speak for that whole county, and they count as votes for that county. That's the 3/4 she's talking about that outvotes them.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
It's just like when Anna called all of the states into session, right? And everybody started assembling on every state, right? They were standing, right? Not seated, right? That means there was Americans on every state getting together and assembling. I'll hand it back.
I'm going to yield. That answered pretty much most of my question. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hello, everybody. My question goes back to the marshal at arms. You said there was no such thing as a pro tem marshal at arms. And, you know, we've been under this, everything is pro tem until we go to public elections. So that's a new one to me. I just wanted to say that when you said that there's no such thing as a pro tem marshal at arms.
So a coordinator, pro tem, like, oh, okay, I'm done with my job. I don't want to do this no more tomorrow, and you're gone. You know, a coordinator is the same as a marshal at arms. Both of them work for Anna. A sergeant at arms gets elected. A marshal at arms is in that seat to prepare the office for sergeant at arms once the elections happen, and to keep the peace for Anna. That marshal at arms works for Anna the same way a coordinator does. That's the thing of it. You know, if you want to say pro tem, every one of us are temporary, even when elected. You're still pro tem.
Right.
I mean,
right.
But somebody who's claiming to be marshal at arms that hasn't been vetted by the Continental Marshals or trained by the Continental Marshals, they are not a marshal at arms for Anna von Reitz. There's some self-proclaimed marshal at arms, and the assembly is believing them. They're not.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, I forgot about the sergeant at arms. So yeah, I understand. It's just all the positions we refer to as pro tem before public elections. And that's just been the general way of doing things currently. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, a marshal at arms is just a Federation employee working for Anna inside the state. That's what people don't get. A marshal at arms is a Federation employee, an American state national. They can't even be an American state citizen because they work for Anna. They work for the Federation inside the state assemblies to keep the peace. And we teach them how to keep that peace. So if they haven't been through the training that Anna has approved, then they are not a marshal at arms under the Federation. They do not work for Anna. Go ahead, Justin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So I think I'm going to yield to Debbie. I think she might have something to say about Kentucky, but I would like to circle back. So I'll just lower my hand because I don't want to make it a chit show as what's going on in Kentucky, but I know Diana is pretty frustrated with what's going on. I spoke to her earlier today, and it seemed like you were okay with it. So I'm kind of I don't know. I'm just kind of putting that energy out there to you that everything's going to be okay. I don't want to go. I don't want to go through on the call what happened, but Paul, after I talked to you, I kind of gave you a little bit of insight of what was going on before it happened. And so I showed up. There was some other previous members of the Kentucky Assembly that are papered up American State Nationals that showed up in defense of Diana because Diana's an outstanding coordinator. She's just new to the program, kind of. And the people in Kentucky, they don't really take to that. They don't take the newcomers. And that's pretty much the issue. The last town hall meeting that we had, you and I and some others talked about how we were making the mistake of considering the assembly as our baby and that we were the leaders. There's a lot of people that are thinking that on Kentucky, and they don't want the boat rocked, so to speak, because that's what it is right now. They're floating around the boat and they don't even know it.
Yeah,
So
but they're not here to set up a government.
I know.
They're here to be American nationals and have a meeting. They might as well just be the Kentucky Town Hall. That's what they ought to be. They ought to be the Kentucky Town Hall and tell them go and meet there and talk and all that stuff. But business, Diana has been taught how to do it. The only thing you guys aren't seeing is you guys are trying to make this happen in an assembly that's not yours. It's not Anna's. You're fighting, like going into your neighbor's house and tell them, okay, we got new rules. It's not. Tell them, okay, this is Anna's house. Here's the new Zoom link. This is how it's done. Now we're going to start getting things going and do all the stuff you were taught to do. And if they want to show up, go ahead. If you want to go off and do something else, go ahead, because we're seeing that on multiple states anyway. And if they want to try to attack or anything, then go fly the war flag, because we're in peace. And in order to have peace, you got to have love. So we got to be able to treat each other good, and you can't set up an assembly and populate everything you need on the state and populate everything you need on the county if you're not going to allow new people in. And change is something that is always consistent. Change happens throughout the world forever. They have to allow the change to happen. But you're going in trying to change something that you're not a part of. So that's why they don't want you there. And if it were me, which I've done in the past, I'd let them go try to vote me out. Because the assembly can't even vote out somebody that works for Anna. You can't do it. Anna says you're the coordinator, or Anna says you're not the coordinator. They can't just vote you out. Same for a recording secretary. They can't just take away their credentials. Anna can, but they can't.
Yeah,
you are a coordinator for Anna Von Reitz. They are not. Go ahead, Justin.
So Tim, the Hamilton County coordinator, right?
Hang on, Marcus. You're jumping to something else.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah. Go ahead, Justin.
So I think they found that out Tuesday. They came on, and you could tell it was a total scripted program. And humbly speaking, I started the onslaught back to shut it down. And then, like I said, there was other Americans there that had not participated in the assembly, but they were there because they were tracking the emails that were being sent out by the group, I'll just say, right? So they were there in defense because they'd seen it happen before. One man, it happened to him. He was a coordinator. But it got shut down pretty quick. It was the General Assembly, no business got done, and then Anna showed up. So, I mean, not to air Kentucky's dirty laundry, but I have positive feelings that things will be under control, especially once Diana gets the backing that she needs to actually do her job.
Yeah, it's not Kentucky, you guys. It's not. I mean, I don't even want to go through the names, okay? But there are multiple states here, people nodding their heads, multiple states where double assemblies are happening on their states too. And they're getting right on through it because they work for Anna. That's the thing. They can all go set up assemblies. They can all follow what comes out of other people who have never gotten assembly seated. Whoever teaches that stuff and has never had an assembly seated before, they can all go learn there. They can go wherever they want. But here, we work for Anna. And then once we get it done right, the way Anna wants it, Anna will release us to function on our own as far as states. I'll always work for her, but the states will be released. And then once all the states are released, then I won't work for Anna anymore either. I'll be working for all you guys. But we have a job to do for Anna. Nobody would be here if it wasn't for Anna. And if they don't want to go by what Anna's doing, bye-bye. That's all I can tell you. Bye-bye. And then you take what you have been taught and stand that assembly up. And it is a business. If that business needs a new Zoom, if that business needs a new seal, if that business needs anything, you go for it. And that business right there, you don't need a new seal because I'm the author of your seal. I'm the creator of your seal. So nobody else can take that anyway. That seal belongs to you and it's yours. But whatever you have to make new, you can in order to set up that assembly the way Anna wants it and the way you have been taught. We know that the way you have been taught works. Now go out and do it. And don't worry about them because they're not even on the same team as you. They're doing something else. You got to find people, you got to have people that back you up. I have actually talked to Justin to back you up too. Justin knows the job and you don't have to have a marshal at arms to protect you. The people can protect you too. Lisa said before, why, everybody said, why do they let, people beat up on Lisa? Lisa asked them, why do you allow it? None of the people or all of the people on Kentucky can stop them from beating up on you. And if they don't want to stop it, then they can go off to another assembly. But if you're running that meeting and you pick up a marshal at arms and you guys vote on decorum, your marshal at arms will just kick them right out of the meeting and keep on going.
May I?
They'll do it peacefully. Hang on, Missy. Debbie Jo
Okay.
has her hand up.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Debbie Jo.
Well, Missy, is it in regard to what they're discussing? I think we've got that topic covered pretty much.
Yeah, I just wanted to let Diana know that if she needs funding to get her own Zoom, I will pay for that for the year.
Oh wow.
She has to. She's got to have control of her assembly, and that's the only way it's going to happen. And I will pay for that for the year, and however long she needs it.
Okay.
She's got to get control of her assembly. I yield.
You got to get your assembly to get control of it. Not just you, because none of us have control. But you got to get an assembly that backs you up. If you're the one that's been taught, I haven't been through Lisa's training. You have. You know what it takes to get an assembly seated. I do not. But I do know the job of marshal at arms. And if you can find one and get them in place and we vet them and we train them, then that marshal at arms will be there to back you up and keep on going. But until then, the people that know you can back you up and keep on going. But you can get it. Just realize you're not part of that party. You need to make your own party.
Okay, now can I?
Go ahead there, Jo.
Okay, that was really long, Paul.
It doesn't matter. I'm a host.
It's okay. I'm just saying.
Go ahead,
Okay, so
Jo.
we're gonna have an interactive moment for a second. So we could probably all count on two hands how many divided states that we have. And we have to figure out, first and foremost, went from being a coroner, yeah, felt like that, a coordinator to the chairman's position. It is not an easy role. Okay. There's people that are going to push you. There's people that are going to push and pull. So I'm not a fan of division. I'm a fan of, pulling the train up the mountain, because there has to be unity. And it is not easy to get that when it's an outsider coming in. So I would question just popping up and doing another Zoom and saying, "Oh, I'm the coordinator, approved by Anna," and da 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 da, when you have a group of people. Finding common ground, like Lisa is amazing at finding common ground. Like, I understand that there's some tough moments, but it sounds like you have a team of people starting to pop up and help out. And that's what it takes. It takes the people supporting you. Nobody's in charge, right? There's nobody in charge. It's a group as a whole. Like, you just can't go and pop up a Zoom and say, "Okay, I'm over here, come over here." Because how many states have we seen that and it's not settled yet? Okay. So let's be mindful with that. Like, let's just not go to that as an extreme measure. You've got to find the meat and bones of it. And secondly, Kentucky has had a long history. Been around for a minute. Lisa's been around for a minute. Paul's been around for a minute. And there's been push and pull. Just be the steady Eddie, Diana. Just be the steady Eddie. You just keep showing up. As hard as it gets, you have to show up. It's not easy. And I'm sorry you're going through this. I empathize with it. Justin, way to go for stepping up to her. Third, people, stop dying on molehills. People are fighting for control, authority, bigger, better, badder, because you're in what looks like an official position. It doesn't matter. Everybody's voice matters. Everybody's, okay? And lastly, I'm going to have everybody do something real quick. This is something you guys are going to be fun with.
Let's not go too long, though.
Oh, I know, right, Paul? My gosh, I can't compete with your 20-minute spill.
I don't think you're able to.
I don't want to. So everybody, take your hand and put it to your camera. Everybody, just do it. All right. You see that? All right. Everybody's got their hand up there. So that is, if you can touch your camera, right? So psychologically, when you are up here in people's face and talking right here real loud, it comes across really in your face. Our brain cannot decipher the difference on camera or in standing in person. Do we all know that we have a bubble around us? And when somebody invades that space, you kind of sometimes step back. Has anybody been in a grocery store line and you're standing there and all of a sudden you're like, "What's standing behind me?" And there's a cart is this far behind you in a grocery store line. And you're like, "Could you possibly back up a little bit? You're in my bubble." Okay. So in business school, they will teach you, because I was going through business school when, COVID was starting and a lot of companies were going to on-camera stuff, is that the golden rule in my psych class, a hand's width away gives you enough space away from the camera to not be in somebody else's space, because our brains cannot decipher that you're not coming into the space. So when you do that and you're on camera, just a lesson for everybody, always think about having an arm's length away from your camera, because it allows you to be in that neutral space. Because any further in that neutral space, a lot of people that might have trauma, PTSD, your voice, it'll carry over a lot louder. So there's an interactive lesson for you. Always think about being an arm's length away and talking your normal voice, because it comes across as attacking or in a predatory sense. And a lot of people have I've seen this on all kinds of calls. A lot of people have been dubbed as not so nice because they might not have been taught this little rule. And so there you go. And I leave it with that. Next.
So may I?
Yeah, go ahead, Lisa. You're the psych on this.
Just remember, when it gets tough, start asking questions. Ask the uncomfortable questions. So exactly what does the assembly want to do? Exactly when does the assembly expect that they're going to stand? Exactly who are you asking to do this task? Exactly what do you want to get from this behavior? How do you think you're going to progress in the current way that you're conducting yourselves? Ask uncomfortable questions. It's not accusatory, but sometimes it makes people jump back and go, whoa, am I coming across like that? And it allows some people to jump in, the people who are supportive, who are tired of the shenanigan, to step up and go, yeah, just exactly when. I kind of like to know that too. I want to volunteer for this committee. Take the people who are supporting you and have them get involved and support the committees. Get them each to take 1 or 2 committees. And once they see the writing on the wall that you're going to move forward and you've got people who are willing to move forward with you, they'll either get out of the way or they'll get involved. It's the only 2 choices they've got.
Lisa, I keep getting the same reaction. Is it something that I'm doing?
Well, frankly, it could be. Are you getting what you need? Or
Sometimes. No, I mean, sometimes I don't.
is that frustrating to you, Sean?
Sometimes.
Okay. So
Is it?
when would it be a good time for you to put your hat in the ring and get really involved so that we can make this move forward and you quit being frustrated?
Well, maybe when I quit being so offstandish, or maybe pushing my weight around, or maybe I should listen to what other people say.
And who controls that, Sean?
Only me.
Then I suggest you have a conversation with that inner Sean.
Exactly.
And get him straightened around.
Guys, we have people with their hands up too.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Richard.
I almost forgot I had my hand up, but I just wanted to, I wanted to ask Lisa if it would be all right if I attended some of the coordinator classes. It's just a learning resource for myself in case somebody in my area asks questions. I have the knowledge of what it's like to be a coordinator. It's not that I'm looking to be a coordinator, because I'm not. I just want to have the material.
You're welcome anytime. You're welcome anytime, Richard. I haven't set the next class schedule yet, so it'll probably be. My problem is I'm going to get started and then I'm going to have 2 weeks where I'm going to be out. So I don't know that I'm going to get started right away. It might be a little after the family reunion in September. Because
anybody in your area asking questions about coordinator, you send them to Lisa anyway.
I would, but I just want to know knowledge for my own benefit.
Yeah.
But yes, if you start the classes, please feel free to send me a link and I'll be there.
Okay. Super. Thank you, Richard.
Go ahead, Schuster.
Yeah, I'm going back to our border state, Kentucky here. Justin, I got you down as Marshal at Arms and my point of contact here, because we went through the training together, I believe. So you're not the Marshal at Arms in Kentucky anymore?
No, I've taken a hiatus from any assembly stuff due to the attacks on myself and going through a divorce. Just life happens. But I'm ready to get back in it. I've been considering doing Continental Marshal and talking to Paul with that. But I'm also heavy on my state. You know, I don't like to see anybody mistreated. So I'm kind of weighing my options. We'll see.
A Continental Marshal can still speak on their state.
Well, he's got the background, so that's why I was saying that he knows what he needs to do to protect her. I yield.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been talking to him about that too, to help her.
Well, I can tell you that when it comes to attack, I've been attacked. I've been attacked at all levels, and I'm still standing. Part of it is consistency.
Good.
And part of it is considering the sources of dealing with. Okay. And the other part of it is gathering the people who actually support you, want to make progress, and starting to make that progress, because it shows them it, and they either get on board or they get out of the way. And sometimes you'll see a large group leave and a few trickle back in. Don't be afraid of that. We're gonna call the herd many times before we get finally all the way. Okay. And every man's heart, they have to make that decision, not you. You know, decisions, opinions, each of us have it, right?
Every one of us that's doing any good, though, any good, we've all been beaten up. Every single one of us that's doing good has been beaten up, fired, beaten up, ran through the muck, all that, and still here and still going strong and doing good.
I call that being beaten down, but only the strong ones survive.
Yeah, that's it. We get right through it. Go ahead, Nancy.
So what Lisa said about support is very important. And that doesn't necessarily have to come from Kentucky. That can be many coordinators, many people, many Americans throughout the country who can be your support group and help you through these things. And Diane, you know, the first couple times I saw you on here, you were grinning ear to ear. You're so happy, and you know, you come across as a very happy person. And so don't let it get you. And sometimes when you just look at yourself in the WebEx, when you're on the camera, and smile at yourself, that's going to come across to everybody you're talking to. You're smiling. They hear it in your voice. And you just keep going back and just let it roll off. That's all I got to say. It's tough. It is tough, but you'll make it. Just hang in there.
Nicely said, Nancy.
I yield.
Indiana's here for you, love.
Yeah. Ohio too.
Yep.
Self-reflection, though, you know, we all have egos, right? And sometimes we need to set our egos aside and be humble enough to get the job done. Sometimes that ego gets in the way.
See, the thing is, if they're for Kentucky, okay, for you guys, if they really want to get seated and get this done, and this is what I told Justin, if they really want to get this seated and get things done, then wouldn't they want to listen to the woman that went and got the training? That would be the best thing to do. She actually took the time to go get the training, to go get the vetting, to learn what the state needs, not just for herself, but for the state, and bring it back and teach the state. If you don't want to go to the school, then don't you at least want to listen to the one that did? You got, you know, and that's where I asked Justin to give you that support. that you need. You know, I mean, I don't have to ask Justin, he would do it anyway, but that's what you need is people to support you there on the state and speak up and tell them straight, are we doing this under Anna or something else? If we're doing it under Anna, I've had the training. If we're not doing it under Anna, then I need to fix this and set it up, the one under Anna, and you guys can go do what you want, and you won't have to worry about me no more. But that's those difficult questions. Are you doing this under Anna? If you are, then it needs to be done Anna's way. And you've been taught how to do it. And that's it. And if they don't want to do it, move on. You got a business to build. They've been trying for years and can't get it done. They don't want to see you do it. So they're going to try to stop you. Kevin, I thought you had your hand up.
Yeah, I did. I took it down. I was just going to say that, you know, Ohio hasn't had smooth sailing ever. But there's now enough men and women who are serious enough to recognize how dang important this is. And so we're all in. So, you know, I've been on these meetings for a while and I've heard you speak before, Justin, and you strike me as a really knowledgeable guy. So I would tell you to hang in there and get back in the Marshal at Arms position and help Diana organize and get this going. So, you know, sometimes when people ask you really hard questions, what I like to do is say, could you ask that again? I didn't quite comprehend what you said. And whoever is being antagonistic in their question, then they have to think on how they can rephrase the question again, and it usually settles down the argument a little bit. So, just a suggestion. How you?
Thank you, Kevin. Go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Paul. I'd like to go back to what you said about once a state is seated and no longer working for Anna. I can only speak for myself, but I will tell you that getting from A to B once you're seated, you will find so much wisdom and knowledge and teaching from Anna that you're still going to be looking to her, maybe in a more grown-up way, and listening even more closely, even if you're technically not working for her anymore. At least that's what's happened with me. There's an old saying that go as far as you can see, and once you get there, you'll see further. I yield. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
Truth.
Go ahead, Debbie Jo.
All right. So last time we all met, I read you guys something. You guys want to hear something else?
Go for it.
All right. So the last time it's called The Journey. And this is the journey that continues. Because I think it's on point with what Kentucky's going through. So it says, Dear traveler, you believe you are searching for your purpose. You are not. You're searching for the courage to become the person capable of living it. The path was never hidden from you. Fear simply became louder than your knowing. Every disappointment carved away what could never remain. Every closed door redirected your feet towards a place your mind could not yet imagine. Every season of waiting strengthened muscles your soul would someday need. We call them setbacks. I call them preparation. You ask why life feels heavy. Because you keep trying to carry yesterday while reaching for tomorrow. Set it down. Today has enough beauty to hold your attention. Stop measuring yourself by the speed of others. Oak trees do not apologize because wildflowers bloom first. The mountain never rushes to become the mountain. Neither should you. The people meant for your life will recognize the light you stop trying to hide. The opportunities meant for you will arrive when your hands are open enough to receive them. Trust is not pretending everything will work. Trust is taking the next faithful step before you can see the whole staircase. You have survived every chapter you once thought would destroy you. What makes you think this chapter is different? Walk gently, speak truthfully, love bravely, forgive often, rest when needed, and when you forget who you are, be still. I have never stopped walking beside you, your higher self. So remember, it's a mountain. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, and it's part of your journey.
Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was awesome. I just want to let everybody know that, and for the recording too, because Paul, like you said, this will be seen probably. Kentucky's got this. I know the people that are attacking her. I've worked right beside those people. I papered up majority of them as a recording secretary. I know that they are just, not to be derogative, but they care so much about what they're doing, just like Diana and myself do. So Kentucky's got this. It's just going to take a little bit more fire to be able to get banged out to what it needs to be. All right. So I apologize if I was misleading, that I made everybody think that I got ran out of my position. I was just tired of the bull crap, and I was, matter of fact, when I sent Anna my resignation over email, I said I got my popcorn ready. You know, and I don't mean to poke fun at that. It's just what it was. I was just ready to let loose, and I realized that me considering it was my baby was a detriment to the people, because they were in the de facto so much that they were used to leadership instead of realizing that they were all leaders themselves. Okay. So I just took time off to focus on my life, my children, and I'm ready to battle again. That's all it was. So with that said, I hope to put the Kentucky issue to rest. Diana, I'm here for you. There's other people that are here for you. Um, we got this. So my question is, can I get some information on what the states are being called to address with the roll call votes with the unincorporated? Um, I think Kentucky is ready to tackle that issue. So if we could get some information, and then do we do the roll call vote through chat so we can have a record of it, because the record keeping on Kentucky is, like you said, it's up in the air right now. So
Yeah, everything has to be done on the record. This is a government of record. Everything is on the record. You guys have to take those votes and know who the people are and whether they voted yay or nay, and all that has to be done by the people on Kentucky.
So may I?
Go
I
ahead,
think
Lisa.
I think there's a little bit of discussion and consideration that has to be made with what is the difference between a roll call vote and an election. And in our elections, we voted in Zoom in the chat. But the actual definition of a roll call vote is to have your name called and your vote spoken aloud. And I know that on Thursday night's call, or on Sunday night's call with Terry Psalm, that there was a bit of a push to be able to allow absentee voting. And that's not what we're supposed to be doing, in my opinion. The Ohio Assembly is going to take up the issue on Sunday at our General Assembly meeting as we go back into session in August. And I'm gonna allow the debate that we're going to have over whether or not we should allow any kind of absentee voting. Because if we're committed enough to our government, we're committed enough to this mission, we should be showing up and making our one vote, our one voice known to everyone unapologetically. And so I encourage you to have that discussion with your assemblies. And right on down to even being able to propose something in your handbook that shows the difference between your general elections and that process and your roll call elections. Because those roll call elections are going to be extremely important in your future when you finally have electors, and this changes from the direct voice that we all have to passing our direct voice to our electors and taking it forward. Okay. So I think it's really important that we comprehend the difference and that our states develop some guidelines to it. And I throw that out there for thought and discussion.
Yeah, I'll add to that a little bit too. You remember back in school, when the teacher called out everybody's name and you went here, right? You were present. You put here, and they marked it down on the little sheet that you were in class, right? That was roll call. So, Lisa actually jogged a pretty good memory there because I didn't even see it in that light. So, thank you, Lisa.
Go ahead, Debbie Jo.
So Lisa, would you suggest that maybe they actually have that differentiation within their elections committee handbook?
As long as the assembly agrees to it, yes.
Right, like have the elections committee meet and say, how could we address this and bring it to the assembly floor, have them discussion, and then you actually know how to handle a roll call vote versus an elections vote.
Yes.
So that's just something that
defined process. Everything we do becomes defined process, right?
Right. So that'd be something that they could maybe have constructive work on the floor of their assembly with something that you could sort through.
Well, here's one of the considerations. I being records keeper and recording secretary, I know of one family where the dad has the email for all 3 members of the family. If we're voting by email or we're voting by absentee ballot, how do I guarantee that those ballots are being made by the people who say they're sending them in? What keeps him from going in and putting their name in there and sending his 3 votes in when they have nothing to do with it?
So that would be another good topic to have in processes and procedures to see if you want to allow email voting and how you could solidify that you were doing that or not doing that, correct?
Right.
What stops anybody from creating multiple emails and sending multiple votes?
That too.
May I add in something on that?
Yeah, Richard.
So, and this is probably like a little bit of a point of contention, but in the old days, before many people were allowed to vote, it was done by homestead. It was done by household, because each household was its own assembly. So I don't know how that would work out today with the way everything is spelled out for us. But that's something I just wanted to throw on the table there, because that's how it was actually done, was by the homestead. People who own property on the state, which I know right now none of us own our own property, but
right. That was in a day and time too when only men could vote and only those who owned property, which women couldn't own property at that time. Only people who owned men who owned property, and only men could vote. And our world has changed a great deal. So, that's the other consideration to it. Right?
We definitely didn't have email back then.
And take it for what you may. I don't mean anything by it, but I think one of the first things that they did to divide the home was giving women the right to vote. Not that your votes were insignificant or didn't matter, but it was the way to divide the home. I'm just going to yield with that one before I get myself in any more trouble.
Go ahead, Michael.
I just had a particular question about that because roll call votes were originally done in person. Since they're done on Zoom, does that require you that this is just a technical question, whether that should that require somebody to be on screen so you can make sure it's them for a roll call vote?
Yep.
I absolutely think so.
Okay, with that I yield. Thank you.
If
May
I
I-
may. Yep.
One of the problems we found here on North Carolina is there are 2 privately held LROs. There are people that have papered up on these private LROs, somewhat like the GFG, which is also private. You cannot look anybody's documents up. You can't verify that they're in the public. You can't verify anything. You have no way to even know who they are. So we have notified both of those private LROs that for somebody to be on the roll call vote and the vote taking place towards the 18th, that gives 1 week for certification before the deadline, that we need a list of those people who are on those private LROs. If that is met with refusal, then who's cheating who out of a vote? Because they don't want to give up the people on their private LRO? Just a thought. I yield.
Go ahead, Debbie Jo.
Yeah, so I have a question. Since Tennessee had the first original template that went out and voted on, and we had no processes and procedures on how to do a roll call vote. So now that they've changed it, I haven't had time to look at it at this moment. Is it much variable difference between the first one and the second one, Lisa? Do you know? And how do you advise in the states that have already maybe possibly done their vote? How does that change it if it's been changed? Do you do an amendment?
I think you're going to have to. I think you're going to have to go back and revisit it and let everybody know that there was a change, that it was not the final draft or the final, proposal, and that they're going to have to redo their vote on it. Because you can't vote on a law that changes in between and not vote on the final law, right?
Yeah,
So
totally get that. I just didn't know if it was like you would do an amendment to those or just redo it completely.
I just redo it completely.
Okay.
And so then if you do that, right, and you have some members that claim that they don't have bandwidth to actually show their face, right, then how do you handle that kind of situation if the roll call vote demands that they have to be up front and present?
Real sorry.
Our decorum requires that.
Well,
If decorum is enforced, then we wouldn't have that problem.
okay, may I, Paul?
Yeah.
This is the hill that is being died on, because our decorum still says should, not have to. So that's what that has to go back to processes and procedures and be revisited and brought to the floor and changed if we're going to have to versus shoulds, because that gives variable to being able to contest that. So there's some things that Tennessee needs to go back and resort through. So
when the new email goes out, I guess it should be more specific and say that then, right? In order for your vote to count, you have to be upfront and present.
With that language, but then you have to remember that the elections committee has got to talk about that, bring that to the floor. The body politic has to vote on it before then. So there is time to still do that, but at the same time, it's, this is the first time a lot of states are having that. That's why Lisa was sharing, having them have those open discussions on the floor. Lisa, do you want to put any advice in that?
Yeah, what I recommend is, on Ohio, any major issue we have, there's always a 2-week period in between the next General Assembly meeting, essentially. And when we have a major issue, we read those processes or procedures, or if it's a major something like our militia handbook, we put it out there for a month and we talked about it and we asked people to read through it, and you had a certain amount of commenting time. Otherwise, we were going to vote on it. And at the end of that time period, we voted on it. So what we're going to be doing is this week in General Assembly, I'll be introducing it. I'll be reading it. There'll be discussion. And then we're probably also going to talk about roll call vote. What do people want? We're going to have process and procedures look at that issue in the week coming. We're going to be taking and putting that out for the people, and they'll vote in General Assembly the next time on the process of roll call voting. And just after that General Assembly meeting 2 weeks from Sunday, then they will also, we'll close the General Assembly, put a special assembly, special meeting of the assembly up right after the General Assembly, and we'll vote on the public law. So you see, we're stepping through the process. We're reading it. We're letting them read it, giving them copies to read, reading it again, voting on the voting procedure, and then we're voting. Process, right? Okay.
Go ahead, Diana.
So on the roll call vote, with the second point that's being voted on in regards to the incorporation versus the unincorporated, everyone has to have time because the law is going to go into effect September 1st. So do not people need to have time to go make those changes on their accounts, or to, first consider what changes they're going to make or not, and then have the time to go make those changes to their accounts? Because that's not an instantaneous thing necessarily for some. So that's a question.
Well, that's a good question. It was last night, Anna somewhat addressed that, because there is always intent. And many people who have unincorporated businesses have informed their clientele that they are an unincorporated business, correct? Some of them have agreements or disclaimers that say, I'm an unincorporated business when you enter my property. Okay. So the intent has always been there. And it could be as simple as, in the meantime, in the interim, typing up a statement that you give to your clients that says, I'm an unincorporated business, operating in the realm of trade. Okay. It is, and then as your literature, your checks, your stationery, all those things come up, then you can change it as you go along in rotation, a phased in change that way. But if your clientele know that you're unincorporated, right? That's always been your intent. I don't see where there's any great violation that goes on. And I think everybody's getting hung up because they're thinking de facto, right? They're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in violation of a law. Well, in our jurisdiction, intent is everything. It always has been. It drives everything. Okay. So, I don't, I don't see, you know, a terrible amount. There's ways around it. As far as, Ohio, we were getting ready to redo our seals, some of our seals anyhow, and use our great seal of Ohio. So we had already had that in process, and I'm glad I didn't pull the trigger and do it earlier. Something just told me to drag my feet, and I did. So we will be putting unincorporated on those seals. They have to be voted back in. That's another thing I've got to get done. But they'll be completely compliant. And Ohioans know that when I put out notices, anything that I've written and put out and put a header on that says the Ohio Assembly, it always says the Ohio Assembly unincorporated. Okay. Even our EIN is the Ohio Assembly unincorporated. Okay. So, I think I'm not saying that people are making a lot out of it, because I think it's very valid questions. But at the same time, I think that everybody's forgetting about intent in the process. Okay.
Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'm going to get back to the voting, and I want to speak about the voting in chat. Okay, when you have a husband and wife, they should put them in separately, so it's not together. Because when I have to count the votes and stuff, it can mess me up sometimes when there's two in there and I don't catch it. So I would like them to be individually. Plus, on these people that can't vote in the chat, I'd rather, if they can't vote in the chat, I don't think that the vote should count. I don't think someone else in the assembly should have to write their vote in the chat. And I was curious how you may feel about that.
I feel that is a discussion for the assembly. And even though Tennessee hosts this call for us, this isn't a Tennessee call. It's a call for 50 states. So that's something that should be discussed on our assembly. I agree with you, but it's something that should be discussed on our assembly, not here.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Dave.
May I?
Go ahead, David Joe.
That could be a good question for all 50 states to have perspective on.
What's that?
His question would be a good question for all 50 states to have perspective on.
Yeah, they heard the question, but an answer to it, this
Just a
isn't the place.
perspective of, maybe how Ohio kind of handles that, to give somebody perspective on having an open discussion. I think sometimes, a lot of times, states don't know how to open the discussion to see both sides. Just good feedback from maybe Lisa or something.
I think it's more of a coordinator training call question and not here.
Well, I think because we have many people who are on election committees here, we have to be very vigilant about voting. I mean, look at what has happened in the other jurisdiction. And once we become impeachable, once our votes become impeachable, we become kind of non sequitur. So I think it's really important that we focus on making sure that our elections and our votes are secure, and that there's not any coercion of votes, because that has gone on in the past as well, where a husband has coerced a wife, or a wife has coerced a husband into voting one direction or the other. And that can be seen as stolen votes. And these are all important things that, as we are beginning to settle our processes and our procedures, basically our laws on what we're going to do, those are the kind of considerations we have to have in each of our assemblies. and they're good points to bring up. Okay. So, I guess I would prefer, and I'm talking Lisa Schaefer, I would prefer to see each man and woman sign in separately. And if that's not possible, they need to be on camera so that we can see that they're individually there. And if we're voting in Zoom, that they each put their, even if it's the same account, they each put their name in the chat and then put their vote behind it. I don't think that's asking too much. Okay. We have people who don't want to be known that they're voting. Too bad. We're transparent. That's just the way we run. I yield.
Go ahead, Michael.
My question is for Lisa. It's a follow-up to the question I asked earlier about roll call voting and being on camera. Is that the Federation's guidelines, or is that drawback to common law?
No, it draws back to your assembly. What does your assembly decide? Okay, when you've had enough shenanigans of people behind a dark screen, most of the time your assembly will vote to have them on screen. And, and it may not be something where they can be on screen all the time. And we have to make consideration for the people who have bad bandwidth. Some of us, we know, for example, Michael Bearwald has bad bandwidth. If there's a big storm on Lake Erie, Kevin and Mary Keating are going to have bad bandwidth with the wind blowing. Okay. So turn your camera on so we can see that you're there, turn it off and go vote. Right? That's all that's needed. It's not inconvenient.
Common sense.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm a fan for the roll call voting because when you look at the if you look at this meeting tomorrow, it doesn't record all the screenshots as you see right now. It only records whoever's talking. So that's why I think it's so important, because then we'll have a digital copy of how everyone voted for whatever. Does that make sense?
Yep. Is that it, Glenn? Or Kevin?
What's that?
Is that it?
That's it. I yield.
Thank you, buddy. Go ahead, Glenn.
Good evening, all. So I had just come from an election committee meeting prior to jumping on this call, and we had some of these same concerns and issues that we went over, and I'll just share them real quick. We decided that we're going to have everybody turn their cameras on, even if they have bandwidth problems, so we can take a screenshot or capture it on the Zoom call, and then if they have a bandwidth problem, they can turn it off. This is for a chat vote, going into the chat, but there are some people on Florida that we know have issues that they can't even, based on their device or a home phone, that they don't even have the ability to have a video, and they can't enter anything into the chat. So we were going to either set up a special email where they would request a ballot from us so we know who they are, and then when they email back the ballot, they put their credential card or their recording number on there, and it's only that email can only be used once for that person. Or we have a separate time set aside for the phone calls so that they don't interfere with the chat. And I just wanted to get Lisa's opinion on either one of those and see what she thinks.
When we did our original elections, our public elections, we did have one person request a ballot. And there was a great possibility that that ballot could have been passed around or, duplicated. And so what we ended up doing was anybody that requested a ballot Their name was entered into a spreadsheet. They were assigned a serial number. Their ballot was marked with that serial number. And we also placed somewhere on that ballot an invisible ink mark. And that way we could authenticate that actual physical ballot. And we had tracking and record of it. The problem with email is unless you do a serial number, okay, you're not going to have any way of being able to, you're going to have a request, the name, and you're going to have a serial number to go with it, or a number to go with it. That could be random. It just has to be a number, right? So that they can't say, well, I got ballot number 17, so I'll run it on the copier and change the number to 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, because they won't know whether or not that's a random number or a serial number, right?
But if they have to request for the ballot, then you have a list of who's going to be sending in ballots. You're not going to accept them from anybody else, was our thought. And then again, when they send it back in with their credential card or their recording number, so you can validate that it came from the person that requested it originally.
May I?
It's going to be up to your state, but you got to think about who might try to counterfeit them. So go ahead.
May I? You know, I find this whole topic a little bit ridiculous, right? I mean, we're in 2026, right? I mean, if you've got a cell phone that's under 4 years old or 5 years old, you can drive to your local McDonald's, which probably ain't too far away. You can get into a hotel room where you got enough bandwidth that's free where you can get on there. You got 5G towers pretty near everywhere. I mean, even in northern Wisconsin, guys, I mean, where you maybe have 4G in one bar. I mean, I can still get on video and tell you, hey, this is Sean here. I'm going to put my vote in. I mean, you know, we've had several people in our assembly try to pull that crap where we ain't got bandwidth and they got a cell phone tower a mile from their house. And you could drive a half a mile down the road. Are you serious about your government or not?
We tell people that Anna drives 52 miles to be on camera for you. 52 miles. I've been to her house. She doesn't have signal. She drives 52 miles to Anchorage to be on camera for you. Anybody else voting can do the same thing. And then a thing I find a bit odd for this is this is town hall where, you know, a lot of questions come up, but not within the functions of your assembly. So all these questions are something that Florida should be dealing with Florida. And, you know, each state deals with their own state's people as to what they choose. Everybody searches for a leader. And, you know, it just happens to be Lisa now, that leader, because she got Ohio to where they could get seated. And it's more of a coordinator training call than a town hall for U.S. citizens and Americans and all that to come and find out about their government. It's more of a procedure call now. And that's not what it was supposed to be. Any coordinator questions like that should go straight to Lisa and Anna, not necessarily here. And if I were you, I would take it to your assembly first. Because what happens if something happens to Lisa or something happens to Anna? You guys are all waiting for somebody to lead, but you are the leader. You got to figure it out and see, hey, this isn't going to work. We can't vote that way. We don't trust it. And come up with the answers yourself. Go ahead, Nancy.
I don't know if I should make my comment after that, but, you know, from the time I started learning about being American State National, it was all about you had to be there. So all this talk about ballots and emailing votes, in my opinion, is wrong. You either show up or you don't.
And that's
That's all I
exactly
had to
what we're
say.
talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about, Nancy. When the discussion comes up here, it's not what we're discussing on our assembly. It's not what you're discussing on your assembly. It's only that assembly. I mean, that question came from Florida. That's Florida's deal. So Florida says, hey, I want to do email or do this or do that, but it has nothing to do with the rest of the 50 states that are here on the town hall call. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is it something that has to be dealt with within your assembly and not here? Well, you guys, we're 10:20 now on the Eastern time, so we're going to be cutting it here pretty soon. Go ahead, Michael.
I personally think that, you know, this is rather helpful to all the other states that are trying to do stuff. And, you know, I don't think they're really asking for direct answers. There's a lot of people here looking for what works, and it helps within the assemblies. If they find something in another state that's doing that they have a problem with and they can't figure out, you know, they should be able to reach out to the other states and say, hey, what's working? You know, at least, and I think this space really helps for that, honestly. I don't think it you know, it was set up for, you know, to be a town hall, but this is town hall. You know, we opened it up to all 50 states, and we did that on purpose. That way that these sort of discussions, where else do we have to sit and have these discussions, ask these questions, find these things out? We're scattered all across the US. You know, we can't do that any other way unless there's a space for it. But with that, I yield.
Yeah, it's not what we opened it up for. It's not what we opened it up to host it. I mean, I know it's being hosted out of Tennessee, but we opened it up to host it for Continental Marshals to be here and hold a town hall for 50 states. If it were going to be something else, it's not what I'm a part of.
Well, I think there's good perspectives, and sometimes it gets off topic and however, but it's still a lot of good information. And thank you for the leaders that have showed up to share those perspectives and information with everyone, because it does go out on YouTube. So, and it could be questions or answers that they could go back and say, hey, I heard this here. What do you guys think? And that's opening doorways for having conversations and giving people a direction to move in, because I think, again, a lot of states are having issues with what's next. You know, yeah, we have a coordinators training on Thursday. It's a lot of people. A lot of people on big numbers have a fear of speaking in those types of places. So if we can open up helping people have a voice to give them growth to go back to their assemblies with it, I think it's a good thing, Paul. I get where you're coming from as well, and I see what you're saying, but we've got to be mindful that this is a small group too, and it's still growing, and it's a safe space for people to ask questions that they might not be comfortable asking. So I'm grateful for everybody being able to have those discussions, and I yield.
It's just not what I do for town hall.
Well, it's okay. It's
You don't have
okay
to, don't cut me
wait.
off. Don't cut me off. I don't need to be interrupted. Are we not running decorum? With town hall, there's a lot of times it's new people coming in and want to learn. It's stuff that we've been trying to teach for a long time. It's not a coordinator training call or whatever like that. It's just, that's not what I do. I'm not saying that it can't be done. It's just not something I host. It's something completely different. You know, when people are having problems or stuff that the Continental Marshals deal with, that's all I know how to help with from my boss. And if it were something else, then I just wouldn't be the host of it. That's all I'm saying. It's not what I do or anything else. But go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, this is another observation about the elections. Sorry if it's anyway, so I'm looking at the election also from the standpoint that we need to have a certified election that can't be questioned, especially by the de facto who we want to acknowledge that we had a certified election. And if we allow people to vote via email or, you know, ballot proxy, all these things that people are saying, that's just going to give the de facto a reason to say our election wasn't valid. That's how I'm thinking of it, because they do not allow email voting or anything in their system. So by making people come and show up and vote live, it just seems like it's going to be more unimpeachable. And the de facto is not going to be able to question anything we did. So that's how I was looking at it. I yield.
Hey, Glenn.
The de facto doesn't take phone call votes either, or Zoom call votes either. So that would eliminate everything that we're doing then. So I disagree with looking at other alternatives to try to figure out how to make things work best to be able to document and have a recorded section on it. But speaking of another subject, if I can change the subject at this point, since you're not liking the subject we've been on,
Not that I don't like it.
Well, I'm going to bring up something even more controversial because
What, Gwen, huh? What is it?
so we have,
Jackson.
It's a hot mic on Jennifer. Go ahead, Glenn.
we have a situation everybody's aware of on Florida. There's similar situations on many states. We can name probably close to over, maybe up to a dozen of them. I know where the problem on Florida began, and it's not just the other people on Florida. It's a problem on the Federation. And why can't the marshals, why can't Anna take care of the situation that's causing the disturbance and the misinformation and the misleading and misguiding information, where Anna is saying one thing and Terry is saying something else, and some people choose to follow Terry versus Anna and what Anna's stating. And that's really where it lies. And I think if that was taken care of and put to rest, then a lot of these states would fall in line. We'd have one assembly for each state instead of the conflicts we have. I yield.
So controversial, I don't even mind, because everybody knows how I feel. You know, it doesn't, I don't have to have other people say it. Everybody knows how I feel about Terry, and everybody knows how Terry feels about me. Terry is the Washington coordinator. She works for the Federation just like you do. That's it. Her allegiance and responsibility is to Washington. Anything else other than that, if it's not coming from Anna, it's a whole nother assembly. Is Terry the one at the head of it? Who knows? Sure is one common denominator. Sure is a common denominator. But if the people realize that they're doing their assemblies the Anna von Reitz way, and that's the way they're going, and they're following that. Lisa is a trainer for coordinators. We're a trainer for martial at arms. If they follow that, they're fine. They go by what Anna says, and they're doing it the right way. If they're doing it another way, they're not part of your group. They're part of something else you don't belong to. And if it's coming from that one common denominator, then so be it. But I don't call it controversial. I call it facts.
Okay. So why does that one person have the right to remove recording secretaries from the recognized assembly and close us down?
Because it's her LRO.
Why isn't it the Federation LRO? And why isn't it, and everybody on there belongs to the state. All the information belongs to each state, not to the Federation.
It's their LRO, their IT that set it up. Everybody else can set up their own LRO. Everybody could do their own LRO per state.
Just like the Global Family Bank.
Just like the Global Family Bank. It's probably why Global Family Bank started recording everything so that they had all the documents in case something happened. Who knows?
It's just like we have the Federation Martial at Arms trainer here, and we have the Federation coordinator trainer here on this town hall. And that's one of the reasons why we have all of these questions on the town hall now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it doesn't mean that it's God's word in the Bible, but the people that were vetted by the Federation to train that stuff are here talking about it. And you got to realize that she's no more of an authority figure than you are, Glenn. And so if you're listening to her and other people are listening to her and they're taking her ideas, which goes against what Anna and the Federation approved trainers are telling you, then, what can you do?
So how is Florida supposed to give a certified roll call election if we don't have documentation, and during the transition period we never received the paper documents on each of our ASNs, so we have nothing to be able to verify or certify a roll call vote at this time?
Well,
somebody wrote this in the chat earlier. Somebody wrote it in the chat, and the thing is, I think it was Nancy. The thing is if you have paperwork, you're a coordinator. If you have paperwork or a copy of each person's paperwork, then those are the ones that vote. If you don't have a copy of their paperwork, then they're not part of the assembly.
Bingo.
Well,
and you don't need a vote from them if they're not part of the assembly.
We're trying to put that all together, but we don't have a lot of time before the roll call vote is due. And
all you have to do is have them email a copy of their documents if they want to be part of the vote. Put out an email to everybody. Email us a copy of your documents if you want to be part of the vote. Then you print it out on the printer and put the hard copy in your folder. Done deal.
If they don't, then they're not allowed to vote.
Yeah.
Period. End of story.
Yeah. They're not an active member of your assembly.
Just try not to take away anybody's vote. Just trying to figure out how we can make sure everybody has their opportunity to vote.
All they got to do is have their paperwork in your office.
They're sovereign kings and queens, and they get to make that decision themselves. They can either choose to put it in, give you their paperwork, or they choose not to. If they choose not to, then they lose their vote. It's that simple.
Yeah.
All right, I yield.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yes, as far as I can remember, you have a position of the state recording secretary or just a recording secretary. And being one of those in the past, I can remember that I think it's just all you need is the 1779 declaration. The 928s are above and beyond, kind of like position improvement. So the recording secretary, I think, was responsible for recording people's documents. Where everything has gone wrong is where everybody's gone to all these, I call it, for lack of a better term, private contractors that are selling people a bunch of bogus paperwork. And they're taking those and they're just recording the nilly-willy wherever they want to. The standard is you record with your assembly. That's what we're here. We hold the land. We hold the land records, the land jurisdiction. If we're a government and we're trying to create a government, well, part of our government is protecting and holding everybody's land records on the land and soil jurisdiction. So it's pretty much that if you're part of the assembly, then your documents need to be recorded with the assembly. And then that take care of the issue right there, in my opinion. I yield.
Yeah,
Lisa, where are your assembly's documents?
My assembly documents still at this point are all on the Federation LRO. I have a copy of those as record keeper. And so, there might be some that went to Global Family and put their records there. If they don't put them on our assembly, they won't be voting.
That's it.
Same
Simple.
way with Tennessee.
Yeah.
We can go over here, right here to the file drawer, and we can open it up. And if you're on, we can double check. Yep, you voted. Here's your paperwork. Okay, your vote's good. Oh, no.
Not only that, that is what we did.
Exactly.
When we got seated, we all sat right there where Sean's sitting. We all sat there, we counted out everything, and then Debbie Jo had to go back into the file and make sure that everybody that voted had their paperwork on the assembly.
To be a valid vote.
To be a valid vote. You have to have a copy of it to know who they are. And a couple of things from earlier, guys. You have these double assemblies that are doing different things. You have American nationals that have papered up through David Straight. You have assemblies that have broke off and started new, and then they still come back in and get their paperwork recorded, and then they go back out and they're never in your meetings. I mean, this is happening on multiple different states. It's still our government. And it goes on YouTube. They can all see it. It's still part of all of ours. If you're David Straight or anywhere else, your paperwork needs to be in an assembly recorded so that we have a government. Just being an American national running around with your nose up, I'm free, good luck. It ain't going to work. We all have to be here. Whoever is the common denominator of splitting these assemblies off into something else, you're dumb. You're dumb. Because we need each other. We need each other working together. We need everybody to help. It's not going to do anything. And whoever does it right, then all of a sudden everybody else is going to be coming over there. But if you're not doing this under Anna, then you got to go somewhere else and try it there. And don't use Anna and her assembly and her LRO and her everything else to steal people and take them off to other assemblies. Don't do it, because you're not Anna. You won't get the stage. You won't get the people to show up. Good luck. You have to be part of what we're doing. You have to take a seat. You have to form a government. And it's not my government. It's ours. We make those decisions together. So if you think, oh, it's my baby and we can't go any further, other people are going to mess it up. They're going to mess up what I did. Then you're doing something completely different anyway, because the only way our government works is if we all have a voice. That's it.
But you got to choose to have that voice and be part of the right assembly and have your paperwork on that assembly in order to have that voice. Period. End of story. If you choose not to, then you don't have a voice.
Yeah.
There is no, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to include you so you have a voice. If they choose not to do what they're supposed to do, then they don't have a voice.
Yeah.
Hate to be rude, but that's what it is.
And now if you want to go back to the controversial again, okay? This is a Tennessee town hall hosted by Sean and myself, okay? And Sean and myself are not afraid of anybody coming in. We open it up to multiple states, multiple countries, U.S. citizens, FBI, CIA, any one of you that want to come. Terry Som, open invite to come and talk and let everybody see. Everybody that's split off into double assemblies, it's open to you too. Please come talk. Show
Ralph,
yourself
Ralph,
to the people. We can
Ralph, Nithy,
Huh?
Ralph, Nithy, come on.
Yeah, all of it. I didn't want to drop names because I don't know them all, but Florida, Nevada, North Carolina, all these different assemblies that have split off into two, come on down. You're invited to. Come talk, come defend yourself. So-called chairman of assemblies, so-called marshal at arms of assemblies, you're all invited to come talk and defend yourself. Go ahead, Debbie Jo.
Yeah, I was just that was very valid points, everyone. But this is just an example, and I'm gonna use Paul for it for a second. When we were going through prepping for the elections part of it, we were trying to see who was in the assembly or however. Paul, how fast did it take you when you realized you didn't have your papers on Tennessee? You had them on California, but you moved here and didn't know that you needed to have a copy. How fast did it take you to get them to the desk to get them copied off?
Probably a couple of hours.
Correct. That's how easy it is.
So, Paul, if you were traveling right between here and California and we were holding a roll call vote, would you pull into a truck stop where you had signal so you could participate in the roll call vote and show your face?
No matter where I am, I'd make sure I'm part of it.
Yeah. Me
That's
too.
how easy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you guys don't complicate it to the point where you're running off your participation. Sometimes it can get so complicated and you want to make it this big, great thing because we're so indoctrinated that it's this big machine when it's really just simple things that make it easier. We don't have a lot of people. We're begging for people. Every state is begging for people for participation. The people that are there, you do not want to exhaust them to the point that they've got burnout, because this is a marathon, not a sprint, and remind yourselves of that. If you make it too hard, people are going to be like, I'm tired of that. I don't want to be participating in that. So just be mindful. Keep it simple, smart. The KISS method works. I yield.
Scott had his hand up.
Who?
Scott.
No, I was just waving.
Oh.
I got signal all down I-75 and I'm participating. Hi.
Yeah, I mean, I have never seen Scott not behind the wheel. He's on the whole time with the camera. No problem. No problem. He got a better phone than me, that's for sure. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I've always found people that are papering up with other entities, you've still got to keep your original copies. And if you've got your original copy, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with everybody, but if you've got your original copy, that's just a good self-governing practice. It's called CYA. You cover your ass at all times. So, I yield.
Yeah. We just have to have it on our assembly. And that was the thing. Like, okay, we scan it, we emailed it. There you go. Debbie Jo printed it, dropped it in the file. It was done. But everybody knew we were papered up. But our paperwork wasn't on the assembly. Like, oh no, really? And we got it done.
To have a valid vote.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll make sure my paperwork's there. I make sure my camera's on. I make sure I can type in the chat. I make sure I can go on my phone if I can't be on my computer. Anyway, guys, we're going close to 3 hours now. So.
All right, David, you have the host role. So we're going to call it an evening, everyone.
Yep. Thanks you all for attending, and we'll see you on the next one.
I know.
Bye, everybody.
Cheers. Thank you.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, David.
I got it. Don't worry about it.
All right.
I like to watch them whittle down.
I know, but it makes it longer.